Wow, this press conference between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in Alaska could not have gone worse. Whatever went down in that meeting was a total disaster. Even Fox is saying that whatever the heck just took place was a utter failure, because Fox says they've never seen Donald Trump like that, and it seemed like Vladimir Putin just wanted to show up, take a photo with Donald Trump, and then leave and mock and humiliate the United States, while the foreign minister of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, shows up in a CCCP or USSR shirt, mocking the United States and Ukraine. So this press conference just took place between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump, I mean, he looked defeated, he looked disheveled, he looked sickly, and he says there's no deal. But just even listen to his voice, it was like he was just crying or something. Here, played his clip.
Mr. President, that was very profound, and I will say that I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite got there, but we've made some headway.
So there's no deal until there's a deal. And then Donald Trump just ends the press conference abruptly. No one is able to ask any questions. It wasn't a news conference at all, which is what they said it was going to be. The lunch gets canceled, and then Donald Trump and Putin quickly leave. Putin goes back to Russia, and then Donald Trump gets in his plane. This was an utter, unmitigated disaster. Here, play this clip.
Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, we see there President Trump and Russian leader Vladimir Putin shaking hands at the end.
No, before Donald Trump rushed off from that press conference, Vladimir Putin mocked him again on stage. And Putin said, how about next time you come to Moscow? And Donald Trump was like flustered again. It looked like he was going to cry on stage. He's looked so utterly defeated here. Here, watch for yourself as Putin says, maybe you want to come to Moscow. Here, watch this.
Again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So you see, here's how they're reporting it on Fox right now, where they said whatever went down in that room was not good at all. It went very bad. Putin came in and steamrolled Donald Trump, said what he wanted, and then Donald Trump just looked utterly weak and pathetic. This is what Fox is saying. Here, play this clip.
So a lot of questions remaining for the President, Trump, not just about what was discussed in that room and what might be happening now, but also how that all happened back there. It was just very unusual, atypical, and I think we're all awaiting, the readout, because the way that it felt in the room was not good. It did not seem like things went well, and it seemed like Putin came in and steamrolled, got right into what he wanted to say, and got his photo next to the president and then left. Of course, that is only the piece of the picture that we have right now, and certainly President Trump, who is the host and who is the president, would not want to, I think, enable something that would make him look weak. But we are eagerly awaiting to hear the background on that. And I will also note that we didn't see any sort of scowls on the faces of the likes of Steve Witkoff or Secretary Rubio or any of the other members of the U.S. delegation. And I think had it been concerning, we might have seen something there. But just to paint a picture for you of in the room, how it felt, what we're wondering about, what we need to know to put the pieces together and fully understand what we all just witnessed.
Wow. And here's how Bret Baier on Fox, just so you can get other perspectives from Fox, here's how Bret Baier describes what happened as this news conference was suddenly canceled, and then Donald Trump and Putin just walked out. Here, play this clip.
President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Russian president saying he and President Trump have reached a, quote, understanding on Ukraine, and had a warning for European leaders not to torpedo the nascent progress. President Trump called the meeting excellent, said there will be more things to come. However, this joint news conference was anything but. It was not a news conference. There were no questions taken by either leader. There were many yelled by reporters there, but we don't have a sense of what exactly is in this agreement or this deal. It seems like it's in the early stages, and we didn't get details about that. The reporting about President Trump making those calls to President Zelensky and other European leaders apparently was premature. The president saying that he will make those calls momentarily and brief them about the inner workings. But we didn't hear the definite second meeting with President Zelensky, at least not yet. But you heard at the end Vladimir Putin saying the next meeting is in Moscow. President Trump didn't agree to that specifically, but said maybe.
Just to show you what else went down during this fairly short press conference, this utter disaster. Donald Trump then started to act like he thought the meeting was productive, and he said, I'm going to go call up NATO and Europe, and I'm going to relay to them what happened. Here, play this clip.
So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. They're going to have to agree with what Marco and Steve and some of the great people from the Trump administration who've come here, Scott and John Ratcliffe. Thank you very much. But we have some of our really great leaders. They've been doing a phenomenal job. We also have some tremendous Russian business representatives here. And I think, everybody wants to deal with us. We've become the hottest country anywhere in the world in a very short period of time. And we look forward to that. We look forward to dealing. We're going to try and get this over with. We really made some great progress today.
And then again, a very defeated Donald Trump starts to say that he has a good relationship with Putin after Putin just utterly humiliated him. And Trump's like, his first term was interfered with by Russia. Oh my God, this is one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen. I think in history, this may be one of the most disastrous press conferences by a United States leader in the history of the United States. I mean, going back to George Washington. Here, play this clip.
Today, I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with Vladimir. We had many tough meetings, good meetings. We were interfered with by the Russia hoax. It made it a little bit tougher to deal with, but he understood it. I think he's probably seen things like that during the course of his career. He's seen it all, but we had to put up with the Russia hoax. He knew it was a hoax, and I knew it was a hoax, but what was done was very criminal. But it made it harder for us to deal as a country in terms of the business and all of the things that we'd like to have dealt with. But we'll have a good chance when this is over.
So, and then Putin steamrolled Donald Trump, did the Putin talking point. So Putin said, look, the issue with Ukraine, it's the threats that we face from Ukraine. We're going to have to eliminate the primary roots that cause the conflict. Translation from Putin and Russia, that means they need to genocide Ukraine. That's what that means. That's the Putin message here. Here, play this clip.
As I've said, the situation in Ukraine has to do with fundamental threats to our security. Moreover, we've always considered the Ukrainian nation, and I've said it multiple times, a brotherly nation. However strange it may sound in these conditions, we have the same roots, and everything that's happening is a tragedy for us and terrible wound. Therefore, the country is sincerely interested in putting an end to it. At the same time, we're convinced that in order to make the settlement lasting and long-term, we need to eliminate all the primary roots, the primary causes of that conflict. And we've said it multiple times, to consider all legitimate concerns of Russia and to reinstate a just balance of security in Europe and in the world on the whole. And I agree with President Trump, as he has said today, that naturally the security of Ukraine should be ensured as well.
And then Putin kind of further mocks Donald Trump here and talks about how Alaska is part of our common history. Remember, lots of people in Russia believe that Alaska still belongs to Russia, as does Putin. And Putin wants Alaska back. So Putin's mocking Donald Trump here. Here, play this clip.
We're close neighbors, and it's a fact. It's also important that Alaska has to do with our common heritage, common history between Russia and the U.S., and many positive events have to do with that territory. Still, there is tremendous cultural heritage back from the Russian America. For example, Orthodox churches and a lot of more than 700 geographical names of Russian origin. During the Second World War, it was here in Alaska that was the origin of the legendary air bridge for the supply of military aircraft and other equipment under the Land-Lease
Это был
program.
опасный,
It was a
сложный
dangerous
маршрут
and treacherous
над
route
громадными ледяными
over the
пространствами.
vast
Но летчики и
emptiness
специалисты
of
двух
ice.
стран делали все,
However, the
чтобы
pilots of
приблизить
both
победу,
countries did everything
рисковали,
to bring closer the
отдавали
victory.
свои жизни.
They risked their lives and they
Вот
gave it
еще
all for the
шестой,
common
чтобы
victory.
в городе.
And then Putin also, again, kind of mocks Trump and mocks the United States by saying, look, Donald, if you were in office back in 2022, the war would never have happened. And what Putin means is, I would have just had it. I would have just been given the land. Here, play this clip.
I'd like to remind you that in 2022, during the last contact with the previous administration, I tried to convince my previous American colleague that the situation should not be brought to the point of no return when it would come to hostilities. And I said it quite directly back then, that it's a big mistake. Today, when President Trump saying that if he was the president back then, there will be no war. And I'm quite sure that it would indeed be so. I can confirm that. I think that overall, me and President Trump have built a very good, businesslike and trustworthy contact. And I have every reason to believe that moving down this path, we can come, and the sooner the better, to the end of the conflict in Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you.
Donald Trump then says we're going to stop thousands of people a week from being killed. Here, play this clip.
To have that in the future, but let's do the most productive one right now. We're going to stop really 5, 6, 7,000, thousands of people a week from being killed. And President Putin wants to see that as much as I do. So, again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much. And we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Okay, so then Putin, towards the end of Putin's speech, talks about an agreement. Although Donald Trump doesn't talk about an agreement, Putin talks about an agreement. Now, we've dug deep at the Midas Touch Network to try to figure out what may be Putin's version of what agreement it is. And it seems to have to do with business deals and visas for Russian oligarchs. I'll explain how we know that in a moment. But here's what Putin says. And then he tinges this with a threat that we expect Kyiv and the European capitals to be okay with what we believe an agreement to be, even though Trump's saying there's not a deal. And you know Trump would lie about anything. Here, play this clip.
I would like to hope that the agreement that we've reached together will help us bring closer that goal and will pave the path towards peace in Ukraine. We expect that Kiev and European capitals will perceive that constructively and that they won't throw a wrench in the works. They will not make any attempts to use some backroom dealings to conduct provocations to torpedo the nascent progress.
So right here's the Russian ambassador to the United States, our chief. And here he talks about there were no major breakthroughs, nor could there be. Listen to what he said. We're giving you the sources. I've translated it into AI from Russian into English. But then he says it's complicated by the fact that there's Russian real estate out there, which he's referring, in my view, to Ukrainian territory that Russia claims that it's its land. And then also you'll hear him go on to talk about how, how all of the lies about, Ukraine starting this thing. Here, listen to what he has to say. This is the Russian ambassador to the United States. Play this clip.
Are there any developments in terms of these diplomatic issues?
Well, we are trying, working. So far, there are no major breakthroughs, and apparently there cannot be, but we are trying. But primarily in the visa sphere. But you can see for yourself that changes are happening very, very slowly.
But after all,
two other major issues: the return of de facto confiscated 6 objects of Russian diplomatic real estate, without which the resolution of other issues is complicated. And the second is our initiative, which we believe would contribute to normalization, real normalization of this, the restoration of direct air communication between our countries.
No reaction to these proposals yet.
Yes, we have prepared the relevant documents, and the Russian side has its own versions. They are being discussed. I hope that the presidents will give, well, actually they have already given an impetus to strive for normalization. I hope after this summit there will be an impetus to speed up with this work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you'll remember that earlier this week when Donald Trump was at the Kennedy Center, appointing himself to be the host at the Kennedy Center Awards in December, Donald Trump said that if there was no deal, there would be severe consequences. And of course, Donald Trump does never follows through on those threats. But play this clip.
Will Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
there will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences. Yes. Yeah, please.
And you'll remember earlier, Donald Trump could not walk in a straight line. He was having some real he's having real issues just even walking straight. In my view, that's a sign of dementia, but I'm not giving a diagnosis. I just know it is a symptom. But he couldn't walk straight. He was zigzagging. And then there was this weird moment as well where Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump were being asked questions by the press earlier before their meeting took place. Not that the press conference I just showed you, and just watch how weird Putin's face goes. Here, play this clip.
Press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, press. Let's go. Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
And before the meeting, Donald Trump was trying to play tough guy. Play this clip.
Okay, in the office with President Trump on Air Force One, heading in. What's your initial feeling? How are you feeling about what you're going to get out of this?
I think we're going to do very well. Our country is doing very well. We're setting records economically like we never have before, including the stock markets are all at a record high. We're taking in trillions and trillions of dollars with tariffs. We're going for a meeting with President Putin in Alaska. And I think it's going to work out very well. And if it doesn't, I'm going to head back home real fast.
I mean, if it doesn't, you walk.
I would walk there.
And here's what the former ambassador to Russia, Professor McFaul, had to say, the former U.S. ambassador to Russia, had to say before that press conference even took place. Let's play the clip.
And I think people have to understand that Putin doesn't look at all of this stuff as a sign of strength. He looks at it as a sign of weakness. He had to do absolutely nothing to get this meeting. He didn't have to agree to anything. There are no preconditions. There's no negotiation ahead of time. That's usually how summits work, right? Usually, low-level, mid-level people like myself at the National Security Council negotiate agreements, and then you bring in the presidents to close the deal. Nothing's been agreed to here. And so Putin has gained everything and given nothing in return.
Well, there you have it, folks. What a unmitigated disaster. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. My gosh, that was one of the worst things in American history. I mean, one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen.